All right. Wow. Hey. Good morning or good day. Welcome to the long-awaited second episode. It's only been 9 months, but worth the wait.
Really?
Oh,
Wow,
maybe that.
hey.
Sorry.
Welcome to a fresh episode of R.L. Steiner, the show based on the work of Rudolf Lorenz Steiner. I've been kind of working on this for, I don't know, 4 to 5 months. It'll be a bit of reading. I made a lot of videos. I've also got my friend Mike, who's joining us. He's the Star Fort King. He's mapped thousands of star forts on Google Earth. So please check him out sometime if you haven't. These are the type of things that we're interested in because they literally destroy the narrative. And I think at some point I'm probably going to find stuff about it in Steiner's work. We'll see. It might already be there somewhere. I don't know. But
Maybe even the pattern you used as a preview.
right? Yeah. Yeah, so I built this cool script. It shoots particles as I talk.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. Today's episode is about the sun. Long story short, according to Steiner, the sun is hollow. And I'm going to actually sort of try to, I guess you could say, timeline this out from where I sort of figured this stuff out and the correlations that appeared, or the synchronicities, whatever you want to call them. Because like I say, this was about 4 to 5 months ago. Actually, I guess, when was the eclipse? That was when, June or July? I forget.
Quick look-see for you.
I think it was eclipse in June. Yes, June 10th. Does that sound right?
The most recent solar eclipse in the States was April 8th, 24.
Oh, really? Oh, no, that sounds more right. That was the big one, right? Yeah. I talked about that on our Delicious Divination podcast. I thought it was one of the most impressive solar eclipses ever. I mean, the one in 2018 was really cool, but this one was just surreal. I had about 4 minutes of viewing time. I'm not kidding. I stared at it the entire time without glasses. And my biggest thing was just the majesty of it. And it, clearly, as we look into some of the stuff Steiner's talking about, like, it just makes a lot of sense. I'm going to do a little bit of reading from, where is it? Here it is. So this was what sort of started it off and started the connections. Let me switch to the browser. Here we go. I actually for those who don't know, I have tons of Steiner's work. I have, I don't know, 40 or 50 of his books at this point. I haven't read every single one, but I'm pretty close at this point. It's funny, too, before this, I studied Terence McKenna a lot, and I pretty much learned all of his material to the point where it's all repetitive, and I feel like I'm getting close with Steiner, so that's a good sign.
Just familiarize yourself with the material to a level where you can just put it out there. Like, you don't need the book to reference anything. You know it by heart.
Right, yeah. Sort of synthesize it, yeah. Yeah, he's, I should do an episode on his life, or, like, about him. Oh, shoot. Okay, apologies. There's, fast cars going out there. Okay. So this book is pretty cool. It's called Therapeutic Insights, Earthly and Cosmic Laws. The thing I love about Steiner is his work is over 100 years old now, and it's extremely relevant. If you're new to his work, you could reach out. I would recommend some stuff. I always recommend reading about alcohol first. And it's the most fascinating one, and considering a lot of our culture these days is based around alcohol consumption, it's a little bit of an eye opener. And no joke, when I first started Steiner, I was like, this guy's crazy. Like, I thought he was just like Manly P. Hall or Alan Watts maybe. I'm like, yeah. But then I read the alcohol one, and I read his book, Cult Physiology, which was just really fascinating, and then it's like started bringing it all together. It's funny too because I think a few of you guys know Flight Boss, Dolo, the pilot man. He was actually, at the same time I was learning some of this stuff, saying similar stuff. So I'm like, wow, you gotta look into things when you start getting all these synchronicities. And I actually have some really cool old Flight Boss to share with this work. So I'm going to read a little bit about here. This lecture, he is talking, it's sort of the beginning of man. He's kind of going into it. These are the things that really stand out and sort of change your perspective and sort of empower you. The culture we have in this day and age is very disempowering, very, you're a speck on a speck in a cosmic soup, where you could just die for no reason. Entire planets can vaporize and blah blah blah. It's kind of insane. Whereas anthroposophy sort of gives you a little bit of your power back, helps understand karma, and brings sort of a reality to the world that you're just not going to get from Crazy Town, whatever it is. So we stand within. This is Steiner. We stand within universal world phenomena as bodily beings. Again, at first we may proceed from merely elementary examples. Man as a bodily being is heavy. That is to say, he has weight. Other merely mineral beings also have weight. Mineral beings, plant beings, animal beings, and the human being as a bodily being all partake in this universal weightiness. And we must actually lift ourselves above this universal weightiness when we wish to make the body a physical tool of the spiritual life. We have often mentioned that if it were only the physical weight of the brain that mattered, the weight would be so great, 13 to 1500 grams, that all the blood vessels lying underneath the brain would be crushed. The brain, however, is subject to the Archimedean principle. Since it floats in the cerebrospinal fluid, it loses so much weight by floating in the cerebral fluid that it actually weighs only 20 grams, and therefore presses on the vessels at the base of the brain with only these 20 grams. You can see from this that the brain actually strives much more upward than downward. It counteracts heaviness. It tears itself free of the universal gravity and thereby acts like any other body that is placed in water and loses as much of its weight as the weight of the displaced water. So this is great too. This goes to a part with Flight Boss we'll talk about a little bit. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit as we start getting into the sun here. Excuse me. Simple consideration shows that we are dealing here only with the actual earthly world. Only foolhardy and unjustified hypotheses of physicists can maintain that the same natural laws we observe on the earth around us are also applicable in the extraterrestrial cosmos. I have often pointed out to you how surprised the physicists would be if they were able to ascend to the place where the sun is. Physicists regard the sun as something comparable to a large gas oven without walls, more or less like a burning gas. If one arrived at that place in the cosmos where the sun is, one would not find such a burning gas. Instead, one would find something totally unlike what the physicists imagine. If this sketching, I guess he's drawing, encloses the space that normally we picture as taken up by the sun, not only are there none of the substances found on Earth, but there is even an absence of what we call empty space. Imagine, to begin with, filled space. On Earth, you always have a filled space around you. It is not filled by solid or liquid substances. It is permeated by air, or at least by warmth, light, and so on. In short, we are always dealing with filled space. You also know, however, that it is possible, at least approximately, to create an empty space by extracting the air from a container with an air pump. Imagine we have a filled space that we will designate with the letter A, preceded by a plus sign, plus A. Now as we make this space emptier and emptier, A will become smaller and smaller. But as the space is filled, we continue to use the plus sign. We can imagine, although this is not actually possible under earthly conditions, for we can render space only approximately empty, that it would be possible to produce a completely empty space. Then, in this part of space that we have made empty, there would only be space. I will designate this with 0. It has 0 content. Now we can do with this space the same thing that you do with your wallet. If your wallet is filled with money, you can take more and more out until finally there's nothing in it. If you want to spend more money, you cannot take anything more out of your wallet, as it is already empty. You can, however, go into debt. You have -0 in your wallet if you incur debts. You can think of this space in the same way. It is not only empty, but you could say that it exerts suction because there is less than 0 in it, minus A. It can be said of this space exerting suction, which is not just empty space, but has a content, which is the opposite of being filled by matter. That is occupied by the space, which one must imagine as filled out by the sun. The sun, therefore, has an inward suction. It does not exert pressure like a gas. The sun's space is filled with negative materiality. This is called counter space, and we'll talk about this in a little bit. I only present this as an example. So he's got a little picture of the sun as a circle, and it just says suction. I only present this as an example in order for you to see that earthly lawfulness simply cannot be applied to the extraterrestrial cosmos. We must think of totally different relationships in the extraterrestrial cosmos from those we have learned to know in our environment on the Earth. So, if you've listened to our show, Delicious Divination, I often bring up the game known as Agario. This is the best example of reality I can find, at least if you understand planes, and what he's talking about, right? Because when he's talking about materiality, he's talking about density, and this game demonstrates it perfectly. When you're tiny, you're fast. You can like whip around here, and all these little materials. If you can see, I'm actually playing the game on the stream. So we accumulate this food. I'm getting bigger. I'm getting more dense. This is the best place to start because this is, just put yourself in this little circle here. And then you'll see a popo ring or a bubble on the right side of the stream. That's the 3D aspect of it. I think the whole world works like this. And so you could actually just invert this and you start to get an idea of the sun. So
Black hole sun, won't you come?
Exactly. Exactly. But you can see as you get bigger, and this thing scales up, like there's probably whoever number 1 is probably a gigantic thing. I don't really want to play this all day, so I'm gonna end up here. I'll feed this guy so we can keep going. But yeah, I talk about this a lot. Personally, in the past, my psychedelic adventures sort of led me to these things and these ideas too, just in the idea of light and density, spirituality, if you will. Definitely helps you get there. So let's take a look at the work here.
The other thing I got from what you just read out is Archimedes' law.
Yeah, what is it? I have to look it up.
When a body of something is wholly or partially submerged in water, like they use it to make what do you call these things? Infinity pools and so. No, not infinity pools. Like in a boat when you can dive into the water. It's
Oh, like a pontoon boat?
no, like you have inside of the boat there is a pool from which you can dive into the sea.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, I mean, it's a portal, basically.
Specific scientific terminology for that. It escapes me.
It's okay. I know what you mean. Yeah, I mean, that's, I don't want to go into it in this episode, but the concept in a nutshell is that, you're essentially an upside down plant. Your brain is your root system. And, your spine is your trunk, and then your nerves and all those systems. But yeah, he talks to. This is why I love this too. Is right. It's empowering. It's not random chaos. Blah blah blah. It's when you're a child and you learn to walk. That whole process is also similar to the brain, where you're literally using your own willpower to stand up. It's really powerful. I love that. So let's take a look. This is actually a little video I sort of put together for this. It's really short and sweet. This was actually like the next step of after reading the therapeutic insights and like the hollow sun. I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's hilarious. This came out like shortly after I read that. This is called a Nature of the Sun. There's also some stuff about Freemasons, but we're not going to get into any of that. This is from the YouTube channel, the was it Rudolf Steiner Audio Press, I think. So let me go ahead and play this for you. It's only a few minutes. I think everybody can see it. Oh shoot. Yes, I'll make it bigger. Okay.
Have you thought of something you'd like to ask, gentlemen? Question: how do the sun's rays come about? Is that a substance? And how does it happen that they come to Earth in a curve? Rudolf Steiner: am I right in thinking that you see the sun's rays as something real?
Oh.
Perhaps you can go a bit further and explain why you think they come to Earth.
Wait, what? Why won't it play the video? Okay, is this a trick that they don't let you record to play videos? Seriously?
In a curve.
Oh, really? YouTube?
The questioner said he'd heard that they did not come to Earth in a straight line, but in a curve.
So you have just audio?
Rudolf
now?
Steiner:
Yeah, I think I just have audio. Shoot. Okay. This must be like a block that Premiere doesn't let you record the video that you're making.
Oh, man.
Oh my gosh.
you can go a bit further and explain why you think they come to Earth in a curve.
I'm not even sure how I can play it then for the camera. What the heck? Oh my gosh.
Could you share like your screen with the you could play it like in a
Okay, let's see if the desktop version works.
play it in a media player and share your screen through
And how does it happen that
Discord,
they come
maybe?
to Earth in a curve?
That's an option.
Rudolf Steiner. Am
I think it's
right
working.
in thinking that you see the sun's rays as something
Yeah.
real?
Okay, cool.
And perhaps
That
you can
seems
go a
to
bit
be
further
something.
and explain why you think they come to Earth in a curve?
Yeah.
The questioner
Thanks.
said he'd heard that they did not come to Earth in a straight line, but in a curve. Rudolf Steiner. It's like this.
Yeah, I'll go imaging
The sun's
now,
rays,
but no
as we
sound.
see them, are not actually a reality. But if we consider the sun the way it is not really physical matter. It is in fact spiritual, a hollowed-out form created in space. Now, you must get a real mental image of what such an empty space means. If you have a bottle of fizzy water, I have used this comparison before, the bottle is filled with water and one really hardly sees the water. We know there is water there, but what we do see clearly are the beads in the water. But you know that when you pour the water from the bottle, those beads evaporate.
Okay, I'm not hearing anything now.
They are in fact air. Being air, they are thinner than water. One is not seeing something denser than water, but one clearly sees the thinner element of air in there. That is how it is with the sun up there. Everything around the sun is really denser than the sun, and the sun is thinner than anything around it, and that is why you see the sun. It is an illusion to think that the sun is something in space. In reality, there is nothing there in space. You have a big hole there. Just as with fizzy water, you always have air, a hole, wherever there is a bead.
Is the video playing the sound? Because that's all I want right now. Or is there no sound at all?
No sound at all from the video.
What? Ugh, God. Ugh. Well, I don't know why Premiere won't do this. Are we sure? Because, like, I'm playing the desktop version, I'm seeing it. I see video, but
This immediately tells you that there can be no question of rays coming from that hole. The rays develop in a completely different way. You can understand this if you consider the following. Let us assume you have a street lamp, and there is a light in this street lamp. If you go out into the street and look at this lamp, and the night is bright and clear, you'll see the lamp in steady, beautiful radiance. But imagine it...
Like through my headset? Oh, wait.
can you hear the video?
Yeah, it works. Yeah, it works. There's sound.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm just gonna let it rock. Alright, cool, thank you. Alright, sorry for the technical difficulties, everybody. I thought this would work, but apparently Premiere blocks OBS unless you do just a straight desktop capture, which is super lame. Anyways, here we go.
Imagine it is a foggy night with mist and fog all around. Then it will seem to you that rays come from the lamp, from the light. You then see those rays in there. But in fact you do not see rays of the light, for then you would also see them on a really good night. They do rather come from around the lamp, and the more mist and fog there is, the more do you see those rays. And so the sun's rays too are not something real, but something where you look through a mist at something that is less dense, an empty space. Can you understand this? Now to go on. Looking into the distance through a mist, the object one looks at always appears in a different place from where it really is. If we are down here on the earth and look through the air at the sun, which is really empty, then, as we look, the sun actually appears lower down than it really is. It will be lower down in the emptiness of space. As a result, something which is not real anyway appears to be going in a curve. So it is only that way because we look through the mist. That is the reality in this case. One can only be amazed over and over again that physicists today present the matter in such a way as if there was a sun there and rays were going along there, when in fact neither the sun nor the rays are outer physical reality. And in that space, which is empty inside, there you do indeed then have something spiritual. And this is something one must always take into account. This is what I am able to say on this question.
Alright. So, I was like, okay. Hopefully that video played alright. I apologize for the difficulty. I'll probably do like a concise, like one-off video after this, chop it up and make it a little more better. So, apologies. But I think we're getting the gist of what's going on here. With the sun, right? The light you see, the atmosphere you see, is more of an effect than anything.
Always felt that way.
Yeah, so for me too, this goes way back to like, God, 2002, 2003. So in this video, you'll see a little clip that I made. There's no sound, so no worries there. Actually, let me go find it here. There's a program in Adobe called Adobe Illustrator. And it's pretty wild. It's a vector editing program, so everything's based on math as opposed to pixels. And like I say, this is back in 2002. I had been learning Adobe, and there is a feature where you can basically create a star shape. And the way it works is it basically you designate the center, and then you designate how big the center is, and then, well, that's actually new, but you can designate the amount of points. And so as we watch it, let me see, am I still playing on here? Okay, nope, I have to switch to desktop. Oh, God. Apologies, we'll struggle through it, it's fine. Okay. So this let's see, this has a whole section with Steiner too. How long is this? 15, 12, so it's a few minutes. But let's play this real quick, and then we'll continue. So, oh no, this is Eric Dollard, right? Yeah, right. So I'm just gonna play this part here. So we can see as we add points, hopefully this is working, you get this really interesting effect. And again, this is something I saw in 2002. I was like, this is crazy. This looks like the sun. It looks just like the sun. And so when we look at the pictures of the solar halos, it looks exactly the same, does it not?
Yeah, just slightly, only a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it looks identical. Fast forward, I think it was 2019 when I was driving up from Cincinnati to Columbus, and we saw one of the most impressive rainbows I've ever seen. And it was like a front that was on top of, I don't know how you say it. It was like the sun was below the front, or far away enough that it created this like insane lighting, and it was people literally pulling over their cars to like stop. I had to too, because what I found astounding was that the rainbow inside the one rainbow was a whole different, not entirely different, but you could see that it was a different storm inside the rainbow. Like it was literally cutting space. And this is before I knew about Agario, the game. But I was like, oh, when I saw Agario, I'm like, oh, well, this makes sense. Everything's just density orbs. Everything's a gradient, So super fascinating. Let's see. So around 2018, 2019 was also when I was learning about Flight Boss, and then I learned about this other dude who is still kicking today, named Eric Dollard. If you aren't aware with him, he is a what do you call it? I don't know, scientist, professor. No, he's not a professor. He's a scientist who did tons of work on radio, astronomy, studied the sun for, I don't know, I think he said like 2 decades or something. Let me see, I have his website. I guess he finally has an official website. So I highly recommend you read about him. He's really interesting. And we'll play his video here. I'm just showing his website a little bit. I learned a lot. He's got a lot of lectures. I guess here he's using a pickaxe. That's pretty funny. He's got a lot of great books. I haven't read all of his books, but he's really cool. And the reason that I thought this was hilarious is, I keep having to go to desktop, it sucks. Alright, was this video. This is pretty old. How long is this? This is like 7 minutes, so we can go through it, I guess. That'd be good. Here we go.
The solar, there's 22-year-long solar cycles of deadness and activity and deadness and activity. They started in the early Renaissance, peaked out around World War II, and now that we're in cycle 24, the sun's going dead, and it's not creating an ionosphere. It's like the solar cycles are ending. So today the solar flux is 140 something. It should be 200 and something. So the sun's only operating at half power right now for this part of the cycle. So you don't have the ionosphere that you need in order to communicate to other parts of the world. It's all dissipated.
So ham radio is dying.
Well, I made it so there was no ham radio available for a year during the minimum of the cycle. Now we're at the maximum, and the maximum is no better than a minimum. So now the question is when it goes into the minimum in the next 7 years, how dead is the sun going to get? The last minimum, it got record dead. The solar flux never dropped below 60, ever. This time it went down to 58. And you couldn't communicate via the ionosphere.
So, side note, I wanted to potentially do ham radio, so this made me wonder if I should do that, but it's also something I would like to learn, but let's keep going.
The sun can be reconfiguring for a cold, dead cycle. There's a popular book written on the subject called Jupiter Effect. It's actually fairly accurate.
The Jupiter effect.
Yeah, it was about the total planetary alignment in 1980. And the solar flares that it was predicted to create.
So there's also supposed to be a big alignment coming up in January, so I think it's on the 25th. Not 100% because I haven't dug deep on it, but could be interesting to look at in the future.
The RCA theory, and the solar flares happened just like they were predicted. Enough to finally trip off Mount St. Helens. Solar flux went up to over 400. The Earth actually wobbled on its orbit from the coronal mass ejections hitting it.
When was this?
1980, October 1980.
Is that where you did the ceremony?
Where it controls all the frequencies. So if you don't know what the sun's doing, you don't know what frequencies to use. That's why RCA started radio astrology. You have to know what the sun's doing, and the planets tell you what the sun's doing. So RCA gave me the equipment, Sonoma State provided me with the place to do it, and the Cosmos provided me with the total planetary alignment. So I was the guy with the equipment and everything right there as the thing happened. I studied the whole event over the couple of years that the whole solar cycle built into this alignment. There's no inside structure.
Is it hollow?
Yeah, there's only a surface. There's nothing inside.
Is the sun actually, do you believe, combusting in on
It's
itself?
not burning anything. There's no fusion in the sun. That's well understood.
Proven.
Yeah, well, there's just not the way to prove that there is any. It's only in the flares that you get fusion. That's why all the X-rays. The flares, the arcs, and the X-rays, and the microwaves, and whatever result of fusion in the arcs. There's no fusion in the sun. They don't know how the sun works.
Why do you, what's special, how does the sun make light?
It's a transformer. Transforms from some other dimension. It's not burning anything. It doesn't have to. It's a converter.
Of what?
I don't know. Nobody knows. But that's what it does. That's the only thing it can do because that's how everything works.
It's transforming from another dimension.
Yeah, you could say it's taking energy from another dimension, counter space. There's no energy, actually. You can't, most of it you can't even measure in outer space or see.
You can't see.
No, you can't see the sun in free space.
So the sun is not visible in outer space.
Not in free space. It's only invisible when gross matter becomes involved, like the Earth's atmosphere and envelope and the surface of the moon or whatever. That makes the light. Otherwise, there is no light. You can see the moon, you can see the Earth, but you can't see the sun or you can't see the stars.
But you can see the planets and
Yeah.
the satellite.
Right, you can see material objects, but you cannot see the sources of light. There is no light until there's a material object.
To reflect off.
So that means there's no time delay. So the whole time delay thing is meaningless. It doesn't take light years. There are no light years because there's no light. So that means that the light you see from the distant stars isn't 4 million years old. It could be only minutes old. It could be instantaneous. All the theories collapse when you can't see the stars in outer space.
All right, awesome. So let's continue forward with this. He talks a little bit more about the hollow sun. Let me see. Yeah, this is good. So this is a great take on the narrative that you're constantly hounded with in this
It's a
world.
law, you know? The world must believe. That's all there is. The sun is an atomic bomb burning in the sky. If you don't believe that, you're going to go to jail.
Okay, now, your theory on the sun, I want to get.
Hollow.
So every planetary object is hollow, right?
All hollow. Well, the sun's definitely hollow because I studied the sun for 4 years straight.
This is a
And
question.
it's obviously hollow.
Okay.
And the solar, the sunspots are holes that allow you to see inside.
Really?
Yeah, it's dark inside. The sun is well understood in radio physics and studying the ionosphere and sunspots and all that stuff that the sun does not operate by fusion. They do not know how the sun operates. The fusion only comes out of the arcs because of the current density. That's where the hydrogen fusion occurs, is in the actual arcs between the flares. The sun itself is not a fusion device.
So the fusion is all in the effect of the
It's a
flare.
converter. Yeah, the sun is a converter from another dimensionality into this dimensionality. And obviously, if you can't see it in outer space, the conversion's not complete until it hits the Earth's atmosphere or other physical object, and then it finally converts to electromagnetic
When it
light.
hits the ozone layer, it does
Well, the
something.
Earth's envelope.
There's envelope.
Yeah, Earth's envelope is undefined.
Undefined.
Yeah, but you have to get in the Wilhelm Reich about that. Like we were talking about how you can't see the stars anymore.
Yeah. So the sun, would you say it makes its quote-unquote energy through some electrical etheric
Yeah,
process?
because of its voltage, its
So-
position.
Would you call it some kind of etheric lamp? A lantern?
Yeah,
of
it's
some
like a
kind?
giant Tesla lamp.
You know, in the
Converter.
the sun is a converter.
Yeah. It's not burning anything.
So it's an etheric electrical
Yeah, converter.
And
It's converting from primary force to secondary force.
the conversion is complete once it hits the upper atmosphere of the
Yeah,
Earth.
then once the emission interacts with physical matter, then it reverts to its reduced form, the waste product, which is heat and light and mechanical activity. But it doesn't start off like that, and its origin is undefined because it comes from what people like to say another dimension, counter space.
Sunspots are holes inside.
Holes in the hollow sun. There's a photosphere that generates the light, and it's contiguous. It's not.
So real quick, this literally photosphere, I think too, is also something that Steiner mentions.
Contiguous. It's little things that move around.
I don't know, it might not be previewing this. So contiguous means touching, meeting, or joining at a surface or border. Where's the Greek here? Conjugate? No, contiguate. It doesn't have a Greek. Okay. Near, touching, bordering upon.
Contiguous.
Yeah. It's an arrangement with little glowing spots, and it's dark in between. It's a veil. And that's where the illumination of the sun originates, is in that veil. It doesn't come from the inside. There's no nuclear furnace in the middle. There's none of that shit, and that's understood. When I studied this stuff in Sonoma State, that's understood. But they have to continue this popular image that the sun is a nuclear bomb burning in the sky.
Scarcity.
Because
combustion.
everything's got to work on destruction.
Exactly. Burning
Right.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the caloric theory. That's another.
Yeah,
lot of
whatever. It has to
bullshit.
be the laws of thermodynamics. You have to pay.
So
It
you
has to
have
be a
no-
meter. If you can't put a meter on it, it's not real.
Do you have any respect for Newton at all? Just
So yeah, awesome. Like I say, it's crazy to read something from over a century ago where they're like telling you, hey, the sun's a hollow space. And then you can find a guy from several, I don't know, that video is probably 10 or 15 years old at this point, but he's literally telling you the same thing. This destroys the narratives. In the previous show and with Mike and stuff, we've talked a lot about the Earth being hollow. I've read all the Hollow Earth books, Baron Trump's Underground Adventure, Vril, The Power of the Coming Race, Smokey God. There's a bunch of movies about going to the other Earth. It's hilarious if you're following the new Godzilla and King Kong stuff, because that stuff's literally all about Hollow Earth. They even have multiple scenes where they go into the Hollow Earth. I watched they made a show, which is hilarious. I've never thought you could make a show about Godzilla. Gosh, I don't even remember what it's called. Give me one sec here.
Hollywood can milk everything.
I watch too much stuff.
Yeah, it's no different here.
What the heck was it called? Oh, no, I know what it was called. It's called hilarious, right? Because everything's got to be inverted these days. It's called Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Not a bad show, kind of funny, kind of good, a little bit of filler, but not too much. But anyway, they have multiple scenes where they go into a Hollow Earth. The Godzilla versus Kong movie, they have a whole scene where they go through the a portal that goes into the Hollow Earth. I do want to note that a lot of people say Baron Trump's Underground Adventure is about time travel, but if you actually read the book, it's not really about time travel at all, so I'm not really sure why people keep saying that. But yeah, I think it's all hollow. It's all gradients. Everything's just a gradient. And yeah, so that all came together. I have some other things to share. I might take a little break because I need to use the restroom, and I've been talking a lot. And I do have a little bit more to share. I have enough to share for like 4 hours worth, but we're not going to do that much. But yeah, what do you think, Mike? Have you heard much about Dollard at all?
No, I'm not all that familiar with Dollard.
No.
But what he says is like exactly confirms pretty much what I said at the beginning, right? A lot of what Steiner's been saying is still relevant to the day.
Right.
You just need to take the time to pick it apart. Like comparative to what you were saying with the Hollow Earth. I've been looking at together with Ahura. Familiar to the listeners, but it's a friend of ours. He's been working with geofractures on Earth, and they're everywhere, apart from on the South Pole.
Oh, wow.
There's no like physical movement visible around the South Pole. It all stops there.
Well, that's interesting because that kind of, what do they say, the ice wall, right? Would that be kind of referencing that?
That sort of points towards an ice wall.
Well, that's interesting yeah, I mean, that could be a whole episode I talk about in regards to Antarctica, or which one's the South Pole? Is that one Antarctica?
That's Antarctica, yeah.
Okay.
I could provide some visual aid there with Google Earth too.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole episode because honestly, again, I don't know, it's deep dive on it, but Neon Genesis Evangelion, which is an anime, I mean, it's literally telling you half the stuff that Steiner's also talking about, so it gets deep.
It's so deep. That is not light-hearted anime whatsoever.
No, I've seen it twice. I've watched the entire thing twice. Don't really like the new ones. I think they're a bit goofy, but incredible work. I mean, we've talked about this on Delicious Divination many times. Is like Japan is inherently spiritual, inherently lives this stuff to a degree. Let's take like a couple minutes to take a break, get a drink, feed your cats, whatever you gotta do. I appreciate everybody who's tuning in and dealing with my goofy technical difficulties. I feel like an amateur here, but when you take 8 months off, I guess that's what happens.
What happens?
So, yeah, let's take a little break, just a couple minutes, and I'll be back, and we'll dive into, I don't know, either the esoteric, or we'll dive into the multiple suns, because I have more to say about this stuff, which is surprising, I know, but...
Multiple sun theory, I think, is really interesting, so yeah.
Alright, great. Alright,
Let's reconvene in a bit.
sounds good. Alright, we'll be right back, folks. Thank you. All right.
Yep.
All right. Hope you enjoyed my interlude music as well.
I didn't even hear.
That was okay.
I was putting up some rice.
Yeah, so unfortunately, yeah, we got these technical difficulties. We'll work through it. No big deal. Let me think. So I have a lot of stuff I really want to share that's important. Let me see. We talked a little bit about the multiple suns. So I guess I'll...
You have that map with the... It is a quote-unquote fantasy map as such, but that shows the multiple suns with the expanded Earth beyond the ice walls.
Oh yeah, that's an oldie.
Let me look that up.
I think I have that in my folder somewhere. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I'm down. I mean, again, if you follow Delicious Divination, I talk about the big secret. It has to be more land. Out of all the things I can think about that would be valuable, and the reason for military, and the reason we don't have dirigibles anymore. Absolutely more land. Steiner talks about that. I actually do have somewhere here. I have to look. Let's see. So we search for Hercules. He does talk about that. Yep, here it is. If you follow Radiation Matters at all, it's a YouTube channel. Him and Gojles, I forget his name. I just call him Goj. They talk about slightly similar concepts, and Hercules is like, I guess, a constellation, but it could be an opening too, right? This is why it's illegal to go to Antarctica, or you can't go there; they'll shoot you. Which, if you're
past 62,
yeah,
you're going to be encountered by some of the navies of the world that protect you from going there. Unless you're Elon Musk, you can open a restaurant on the South Pole. Who cares?
Right. Yeah. So, but people always say, "Oh, well, you can go there." It's like, well, go then. Why? It shouldn't be a big deal. There's nothing there, right?
Well, the places on Antarctica you can go are like that little stretch that edges towards South America. That's places you can go. So that's close to the 62 latitude line, and then you can go to where Mount Terror sits. I forget the name of the polar station, but that's the other end, and that's the only two places at the poles you and I can go, and it costs you a lot of money.
Right. Yeah. So we have your. Yeah. This isn't. Oh, you got like a colored one. I don't know if mine's colored like that. Interesting. Yeah, this is the idea of like ice rings. I've seen there's been a couple evolutions of this map too. I'm sure you've seen them where they have like sort of, I guess, kind of like Agario orbs of realities, which very well. I mean, the way I see the world is basically Agario, but everything's a density or gradient, so to speak, and then the rainbows are going to be your edges of densities, which is why rainbows are specific to your perspective, which is, I don't know why people don't like their minds aren't blown by that, but it should be, especially when you're told everything's a burning ball spinning through cosmic soup,
Sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, I don't know if this is real. I don't know. Maybe, like I say, you can't leave the circle, right? So we need.
I like the interpretation of it. Like I say, I don't know if this is real or anything. It's probably just a fantasy map, but the idea of the multiple suns is portrayed in this pretty well, if you ask me. Like there's two suns and there's a moon.
Yeah. Yeah, let me tangent a little on this real quick. I'll show you. So there is a book. Steiner has a video, or a lecture rather, talking about. Oh God, what is he talking about? I gotta look here. Where did I put this? Three suns. We'll talk about this too because the Mayans have a whole thing on the sun too. Where did I put this? Oh, Techni. Here it is. Okay, yeah, I remember now. So Steiner had a video where he's discussing, he's doing a lecture about comets. It's really good. I highly recommend it. I can try to find a link if you want or if you need. But he talks about, like, people think comets are omens and all this, very basic stuff. Everybody already knows that. But he also talks about it in a way that sort of gives it organic life, in that comics are sort of materializing in space to be a type of food for this organism, which is pretty big stuff, honestly, huge. And in that research, I found this link. It's a website called tart-area.info. And there's this book, I forget what it's called. I'd have to click. I don't know. It's this old book with illustrations. Let me make sure this is on the stream. Okay. And it's got 3 suns, and it says, essentially there was 3 suns originally. Could be. Not much surprises me anymore. But yeah, this is one of the pictures of the 3 suns. Let's see if there's anything. What attracted my attention particularly was the presence in a number of illustrations of bright celestial bodies in the amount of exactly 3 spheres.
There's been a lot of videos on and off the past couple of years of dual suns.
Yeah, well, let's dive in, because
what if we're just waiting for the third one to appear?
Right. Well, that's been the end. Was it Nibiru or whatever? People were like, "Oh, the Nibiru is gonna come." Well, so that's pretty cool. What happens here this is a video from the Mayans. This is their Genesis myths animated, and I didn't finish breaking all of this up. But it overlays a lot of this stuff. You have your 4 gods, which are essentially the 4 elements, probably similar to the 4 archangels. They try to make humans. There's a lot of sacrifice, always a sacrifice. Even the gods sacrifice themselves constantly. There's a ton of overlap between like Mercury and Persephone, like the same type of myths. Again, this is probably an entire episode I could do, but we will skip ahead a little bit to the end, which is the most fascinating part, because it totally correlates to what Steiner calls our time period. Although I think we're on the cusp of the 6th age, but this is what they call in this one the 5th Earth, and then they need to make a sun for it. Let me see, how long is this? About 5-6 minutes. So yeah, we can watch this. It's pretty intriguing. This is all about how the gods made the sun according to the Mayans. Now, I think the Mayans too, I believe the idea is that they are sort of descendants of the Atlanteans. Now, I'm not 100%. They could have actually been the slave race that sort of took over the area afterwards too. The history of the world gets pretty complex and very deep very quickly. So let's watch this real quick, because it's really fascinating, and it'll lead to the next thing we want to talk about with the sun and a little bit of the moon.
Now the earth of this 5th sun is complete. Quetzalcoatl and Tezcatlipoca must now create the sun, the time called Nawi-Olin, for movement.
It is called for movement because it moves and follows its path.
It is called a time of movement because there will be earthquakes and hunger before the end of this 5th sun. Look, they are gathering in Teotihuacan.
They are coming together to make a new sun, to finish this 5th creation.
Oh, brothers, sisters, who will carry the burden of lighting the world?
Who will carry the burden? Who will take it upon himself to be the sun? Who will bring the dawn?
I shall bring the dawn.
Tezcatlipoca, the proud one, will bring the dawn.
His clothes are so fine, his shell is so bright. Can he sacrifice all this to be the sun?
Is there someone else? Who else would like to become the sun?
You will be the one, oh little crippled one.
You, O Nanawachi.
You will be the chosen one, little pashto-covered one.
We have chosen you, Nanawatsin.
No, I am not worthy.
We have chosen you. You will be the one. Oh, Nanawatsin.
Thankfully, I accept what you have commanded me to do. Let it be as you say. You have been good to me.
They are sending Nanawatsin and Texas Takat to purify themselves for 4 days on 2 hills in Teotihuacan. The offerings of Texas Takat are so precious.
His grass balls are made of gold.
His maguey spines are not written by blood. They are carved of coral. And his incense is very good incense.
It is very good incense.
The fir branches of Nanawatsin are just made from green water rushes bound in bundles.
His grass balls are only sweet, smelling reeds.
His maguey spines are covered with his own blood.
And he used scabs from his sores for incense.
Not gonna lie, that's a little gross.
It is time. It is time to set the divine hearth for eternity.
The fire in the center is made.
It is midnight.
They are dressing for their sacrifice.
Take courage, O proud one. Cast yourself into the fire.
Jump into the fire.
Take courage, O Tecusitecat. Fall. Cast yourself into the fire.
Jump.
Jump! Take courage, O proud one. Cast yourself into the fire.
Fall. Cast yourself into the fire.
Take heart, jump!
Come, little crippled one. Jump!
Take heart, Nanawatsin. Bring the dawn.
Listen. Nanawatsin is crackling and popping like one who is roasted.
Finally, the proud one is following.
The fire is devouring them. It is slowly and gently touching the white eagle. Its feathers darken.
The ashes are giving the jaguar its spots.
All await the coming dawn. The reddening begins.
The sun will rise in the north.
No, it will rise in the south.
There it is. It's about to rise in the west.
No, here. Here in the east. From this direction the sun will rise. The sun will rise in the east.
The sun is rising. His light is touching the earth. His heat is scorching the earth. His brilliance is great. It is impossible to look at his face.
He blinds everyone with his light. But he just stands still.
Texis is rising.
He is stopping. He just stands still.
They are the same in size, shape, color, and brilliance.
The endless night is over. With two suns in the sky, swaying back and forth forever? Shall there be no rest from them?
How shall we live if the sun cannot move?
Shall we live in misery?
Will they both follow the same path?
Let it be through us that the sun may have life. Let us all sacrifice ourselves. Yes.
Yes. Let us all die, so that the sun may move on its path.
Let us all die.
Yes, let us all die.
Yes, let us all die. I don't want to die.
They are afraid.
Precious serpent as the wind must sacrifice the Tezcatlipoca. He must offer all the lords to the fifth sun.
He must sacrifice all the lords.
Oh, brothers, I don't want to die.
Shalot is running into the cornfield.
The spirit of the wind sees him.
Shalot is leaping into a maguey plant.
The wind spirit uncovers him.
I don't want to die! Don't kill me!
Shalot is hiding in the shape of a mud puppy.
This might be like the demiurge right here.
Him.
Demiurge, sorry.
The wind spirit has sacrificed Shalot.
These guys kill everybody and everything. Apocalypto, like the movie.
One by one, the Tezcatlipoca give their lives to feed the sun.
All have fed the fifth sun. All have given their fire to the sun, but the sun does not move.
Quetzalcoatl must now breathe his life into the sun.
The wind spirit must blow it on its path.
Now he must blow on the moon. Look! The people of the fifth sun are walking in the light. They are bringing the wood. They are continuing the ceremonies given to them by the Tezcatlipoca's.
Alright, cool. So, yeah, crazy, right? The creation of the sun and moon. I think it's, I don't know, it's very hilarious in a way, where you get the guy with courage, and then he lacks it at the moment of truth, whereas the handicapped guy's like, yeah, I'm out of here, peace. And then you get the sun and the moon. So there's two things that kind of go along with this. Let me see here. Which one is it? So Steiner has one. Oh, it's this one, I think, here. This is the birth, or I'm sorry, the life of the sun, and he talks a little bit about it. And then Flight Boss has a bit on this, which is really cool. So let me go into this here. Let me make sure this is. So even in the Mayan one, they're talking about 5 ages thus far, which created the sun and the moon. I'd have to go back into the video. I think they talk about the other suns. And then I believe they reference also there would be a 6th sun. And I think this is also a part of Steiner and Anthroposophy, where they talk about 7 ages, and then it all starts over again, I guess. Let's see here. So how long is this for? It's a few minutes. So let's listen to this for a second. This is Steiner. Am I still broadcasting correctly? Oh god, let me see. Yeah, okay. So this is talking about the beginning of the sun a little bit. And you're going to see a video clip from anime, of course, because there's always hints in anime from the Devilman, and it's a scene where it clearly, to me, depicts the sun and the moon separating from the earth, which is what he's talking about. So here we go.
And that only later did it advance to the existence. The sun was still a planet, and that only later did it advance to the existence of a fixed star. In the sense of mystery science, a fixed star is one which sends life forces to one or several planets situated at a distance from it. During the second cycle, this was not yet the case with the sun. At that time it was still united with the beings to which it gave force. These beings, and also man at his level of development of that time, still lived on it. A planetary Earth separated from sun and moon did not exist. Everything in the way of substances, forces, and beings which exists on and in the earth today, and everything which now belongs to the moon, was still within the sun. It formed a part of its substances, forces, and beings. Only during the next third great cycle did that detach itself from the sun, which in mystery science is called the moon. This is not the present moon, but the predecessor of our earth, its previous embodiment, reincarnation, as it were. This moon became the earth, after it, in turn, had detached from its substance and cast off what one today designates as moon. In the third cycle, 2 bodies thus existed in place of the former planetary sun, namely the fixed star, sun, and the split-off planetary moon.
Sounds
Man
like
and the
what we
other
just
beings
watched.
which had developed as man's companions during the course of the sun had been taken out of the sun along with the moon. The sun now provided the moon beings from the outside with those forces which they had previously obtained directly from it as their dwelling place. After the third moon cycle, there occurred another period of rest, pralaya. During this period, the 2 separate bodies, sun and moon, became united and together passed through the condition of the sleeping seed. In the 4th cyclic period, sun and planetary moon at first emerged from the obscurity of sleep as one body. During the first half of this cycle, our earth, along with man and his companions, split off from the sun. A little later it cast off the present moon, so there now exist 3 members as descendants of the former sun planet.
And what is the sun doing? Now, before we break this down, this is what you need to understand. Us as spirits are creating shapes and forms for us to possess or inhabit, to experience. So we are creating shapes and forms.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, I left my mic on mute. Let me... Oh my gosh. I'm such an amateur today. Wait, I'm gonna go back and I'm just gonna redo it because whatever. So hey, apologies. Appreciate bearing with my technical difficulties today. So when you saw the Devilman clip, this is I believe to be the moon right here. Steiner refers to the moon as sort of the dross of previous civilizations, this is all the crap, the bad stuff, the monsters, the demons. They end up in the moon, and the moon and the sun separate. This is Lucifer, or a depiction of what would be Lucifer. In this story, Lucifer plays a critical part of the story. Not exactly evil, pretty evil. I mean, really evil, honestly, but like not exactly evil in the way you think. His goal isn't to destroy everyone necessarily, so much as provide a light for individualism. And they separate. And in this earth is everything's alive. So the plants become alive, and the beings, which sort of whatever angels you want to call them, are like hermaphroditic fairy-like beings. And so they separate because they don't really get along. Obviously, I'm not gonna play the clip of the animal. Like, everything's alive, so they just get eaten and destroyed. Demons essentially only recognize survival of the fittest, and so they separate. Where's Flight Boss? Okay, here we go. And so this goes with Flight Boss too. Flight Boss talks about the creation of the sun. Essentially, we created the suns as spirits. If you aren't familiar, Dolo, the Pilot Man, he's a YouTube guy. I started watching him a long time ago, 2017 or so. Used to be really, really intriguing. Last few times I watched him, months ago, but just, I don't know, he changed a little bit, I guess. You get 100K subscribers, you just kind of change, I guess. So, but he talks about creating the sun, and again, a spiritual angle of empowerment, as opposed to being required to like do laps around a black cube or pray at a certain time of day, bowing down, all these things that are honestly kind of just disempowering. But anyway, let's listen to a little bit what he has to say.
So, when you look at the sun, in astrology, what does the sun represent? What you're consciously aware of, what people view from you, how you view things, how you see things, how you act, your actions. That's what it represents. So, as a spirit, this is one of the first forms of bodies we created to inhabit, to experience. So when you look at the sun will be one of the first bodies we created as a spirit to be consciously aware of ourselves, to experience ourselves. So the sun is like a form of, it's like a body of consciousness, and that was a form we created in order to experience ourselves as spirits. So for the most part, so we created a body of light to ride, and we give this body of light an impression, and it's the first forms of body. So when you're looking at each planet, each star, this is each form of body, each world. So when you hear things about the seven existences and the seven worlds and the seven, you are in these worlds every day, but one world is lighter than the other, so the experience is more faster than the other. So when you talk about Mercury, that's the world of thought, imagination, communication. So Marduk or whatever. So for the most part, that world is faster because your thoughts is much faster, less physical. So they move much faster, and it doesn't take a lot of time to move. You know what I'm saying? Then once we get to the lower stars and shit like that, things get more dense and physical once we start to get the Venus and Mars and shit like that. So what is the sun, and what is the sun actually doing? So look, check this out. Since you are in an overall, right, you have a sun yourself. Now, the sun is one of the first forms of bodies you created, so your spirit to take, so it can be consciously aware, and it's the first form of action it could take. Because you need to understand everything is a shape and form. The spirit don't have one. So the spirit is creating these things. So as the sun or a body of light, that's a light form. So that's what you create, as you can take you can inhabit that shape and act out your expression. So the sun is one of the first things we create. So when you look at the sun, it's like the solar plexus and things of that nature. So we know it's dealing with center. So it's always the center of the rotation, because it's the first body that start creating the other shapes and forms of the imagination. It's what your spirit used to go up and down your body and give life to all your other blood cells and all your other and all your other organs and shit like that, the chakras or whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? You use that Citron 1 as a spirit to move up and down. Now, you can't look at this as a awake or sleep thing, because here's what you need to understand. If you are a lesser being and a larger being, then that time, and this is what astrology understands, is higher clocks and lower clocks. So that time is much larger than this time. So for an example, if you want to come up with the argument of saying that is correlated to you going to sleep and waking up, you have to look at it like this. If that larger clock or larger being time is longer, then we have examples every day in our 24 hours where people being up for 48 hours, people being up for almost a week. You know what I'm saying? So it's impossible to be the lesser life but live a day longer than a larger clock day. You know what I'm saying? So if we was to correlate the 24 hours to this being we are in going to sleep and waking up, but we got the blood cells, which is us, within it being able to stay up longer than the day of the being we are in, that doesn't make any sense. So this is what you need to understand. So
I'm gonna pause, but blood cells, right? Like the concept of we are organisms within an organism, totally Steiner, 100%. Especially if you read or listen to the Comet lecture where he talks about comets being a food source, and he talks too. The correlation that Steiner presents is that when you, for instance, eat salt, right? Salt's going to go into your system, it's going to be broken down, and then it's going to go through your blood system, right? To, help you build new blood, new bones, etc. And this is essentially the same correlation he gives to comets, which is awesome. It's incredible. It brings life to life as opposed to everything's chaos and you're lucky to be alive on the wet marble hurling through cosmic soup, right?
It's moving fast. So we're just calculating time and calling it a 24 hours. But this thing that we use as a spirit to move up and down in our body is moving fast, whether we are awake or sleep. It is going up and down within us, and it never sleeps. This is one of the first bodies we use as a spirit, and the spirit don't sleep. But in the spirit love bodies that mimic the spirit.
And again, too, with the up and down, this is the density of the brain and the body and the way your system works, your aura, right? I don't want to go into super auras right now, but like the whole idea of the up and down and the density, the balance of your biology, which is tremendous. Timothy Leary talked about this a lot. I mean, the stuff you have going on in your body, if you were aware of it, you'd go insane, because it's just so many things happening, incredible, powerful things to make you, enjoy life, sense life. Let's listen to this last part here.
You need to understand this too. Relative to space, there's no such thing as up and down. It's this movement to however the body is standing or laying. You see what I'm saying? So that's relative to us. But for the most part, when you look up, it's the same thing. When the solar system is the being we are in. The solar system is the organs, and the star constellations is the tissues and the skin and the bones and the wrapping around. You see what I'm saying? So for the most part, when you're looking up at the sun, based upon the being we are, like I said, we are in a being that's in a larger being, that's in a larger being, that's in a world. You see what I'm saying? Now, for the most part, when you look at the sun based upon our perspective in the being we are in, right, what you're seeing is our solar plexus, right? And that spirit of the being we are in created that form to be the first body to represent it. You see what I'm saying? In physical form, physical light. So the spirit is within that. Move it. And then that spirit move up. The spirit is in that body. Now that body, which is the first body it likes to take, so we call it the quote-unquote sun, it goes up and down and give life and direction to all the other planets, aka organs, right? And since we are the blood cells, the linear life in that, this is where we get our energy influence from the planet's rotation, because they're being led by the sun, and then these are the other forms of bodies. So like I said.
So yeah, awesome. I mean, this is literally the symbol, right? The whole the Steiner symbol that I've been sharing. Oh my gosh. Right here. So you got the sun on the top. You've got the expansion of Jupiter. Now when you go horizontally, you have sort of opposites, right? And they're all connected. This is the one thing too. It's like the biggest trick of occult science or occult esoteric studying, right? Is everybody gets lost in like one meaning. There's no such thing as like one meaning, really. It is good to, for instance, find out what the point is. Again, for the delicious divination folk, what's the point? Like, what? A question that can really curse you if you get lost in the sauce, right? But anyway, so the sun leads here, and you have Jupiter, so expansion, right? And you have Mercury, intellect, sort of the focus in a way. And then as we go down into density, you've got Mars, right? Actions, and you've got Venus, passions, right? Connections. There's actually a lot about Venus that's kind of confusing, but it's a whole tangent for another day. At the bottom, you've got Saturn, the ring outside, and the moon, the inside, the dross inside, right? All led by the light of the sun. Awesome. I mean, I don't know. It's at minimum more interesting than a burning ball of fire. At least for me. Yeah. Oh, welcome, Upside Down Alien. How are you? Welcome. So, let me think. Where to go next? We've talked about the we talked about this. We could talk about the sun moving through Hercules. What do I want to do? I think we carried this. We covered this. Yeah. We watched this. Let me see here. Got a message. Frying up some chicken. Sick. Alright, nice. Alright, so I'm gonna take a little break just because it's been like a solid 40 minutes. Oh, hey, what's up, Upside Down Alien? Click to see attachment. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, welcome. Do you have anything to share?
Sorry, I didn't know if I should speak or not. I'm just enjoying the feed.
No, you're totally welcome. Yeah, I appreciate it. Welcome. I've just been talking about the sun, obviously.
Yeah, I'm staring at the sun right now as we speak.
Great. Did you go see the eclipse this year?
I believe I did see it. It was partially cloudy. But it actually kind of helped because it wasn't too cloudy. So when the clouds would pass through it, it was as if a filter, would pass through it. So you could kind of look at it better with the naked eye.
Right. they were spraying heavily in my area, which where I went like an hour away from Columbus, Ohio, because I wanted to see totality for as long as possible.
Right.
And I was surprised. I mean, you literally had, I don't know, a couple million people probably staring at them spraying the sky, like literally streaks everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, a buddy of mine went to Erie. He drove up to Erie, Pennsylvania to view it there. And he said that, when it covered the sun, it was like nighttime, but it
Mhm.
was the cloud was still illuminated. It was very weird. He said it was as if someone turned the lights off.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I mean, it's as surreal as it gets. I mean, the only thing more surreal is psychedelics.
Right.
No.
No, but yeah, it was the best viewing I had was in 2020. I believe that's when the last one was.
2018 was the last like big one. Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. Yeah, it might have been 2018, and I was on. Are you sure it was 2018? I was on my college campus at the time, and they were giving out eclipse classes, and we
Mm-hmm.
were all able to stand in the courtyard at the viewing, and people made shoebox viewers.
Yeah.
So, you could see the reflection of the light, I guess, through the box. It was pretty cool.
Pinhole cameras, I think they are.
Yeah, similar to an exposure method. This is more of a projection.
Right. Nice.
As the light will pass through the hole and project it onto the screen or on the inside the cardboard box, and then you can look at it to see the shape that it's in.
Yeah.
I'd rather stare directly at it though.
Yeah, that's what I did. I mean, it was amazing. It's one of the most amazing things. I mean, especially if you get to totality. I mean, it becomes twilight. I mean, it's dark. I mean, the crickets come out, the birds stop talking. Yeah, it's incredible. It's more incredible too, trying to figure out what it really is when you understand that it's hollow. Obviously, something's blocking the light, I guess, or interfering with the light. As far as Eric Dollard would say, you're just seeing the inside of it too, which is fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, I joined late, so I wasn't sure as to what you were talking about earlier, but the basic level of understanding from any point of view is if you take a look at an eclipse, the first thing that I would notice, um, is it's very odd that the shape is perfect, to
Mm-hmm.
block the sun, and most people kind of brush it off, and you can look into the explanations for it. I haven't in a while, but it's definitely the first question to ask yourself is how is it so mathematically perfect in the sky, in proportions to where it covers it. And, there's definitely some history, that comes into play with how these things affect, calendars and time
Mm-hmm.
and, the way that humans operate and just nature in general, follows this cycle, this solar cycle, like, so to speak. So there's definitely something to it in those aspects. And then
Mm-hmm.
also, I guess maybe more of a metaphysical spiritual aspect as to how this energy, you know it sort of seems to me, how how it affects, how it changes and affects, the earth itself. So
Mm-hmm.
like you said earlier, when this event does occur, there are anomalies that take place. It sort of is like the earth comes to a standstill for a second, because everything
Yeah.
stops to acknowledge what's taking place.
Right. Yeah, that's what the eclipse felt like to me. I mean, it was just like the majesty of it, you know.
Yeah, it's like a clearing,
Mm-hmm.
or like a reset event, or a marker, like a marking of time.
Yeah. Yeah, the one thing I thought, I don't know if I 100% agree with when Eric, well, you may have missed it, but Eric Dollard, he speaks about the solar minimum and says that the sun's operating at less power, which is interesting, you know, because of all the narratives regarding the climate and stuff, but I don't, you know, particularly believe any of that. I mean, I think if you study Steiner's history, the magnitude of cataclysms you know, sort of change everything. Even like the Mayan video where they talk about the sun, where the ones weakened, I don't know, obviously these things change, in which case we would also perhaps sort of combining the idea of the Mayans and combining Flight Boss's ideas is, what if we needed to create a new sun? But this is like occult knowledge that we can't do anymore, or I don't know. I mean, I think too, Steiner says that we're supposed to be expanding into Jupiter, which would be the sixth age. I don't know. I mean, it's a mystery, I guess you could say. But surely it's a bit more fascinating than the burning ball of fire or the atomic bomb in the sky. It just doesn't make any sense, really.
Yeah, I was speaking with 13th Monkey about this, because he's telling me to watch some certain movies, but I was, going through a recent sci-fi phase, and this movie Sunshine in 2007.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was directed by Danny Boyle. It's literally about, the sun, not, this is spoiler alert, but the sun dying, and, there's a ship that has to deliver a payload, in order to revive the sun.
Yeah.
And it's a suspense thriller action movie.
It's good.
If anyone wants to check it out, but, there's definitely some type of aspect of humans toying with this idea of an inevitability of whether it's true or not, the sun, eventually dying, or a cycle, but who's to say what is true or false?
Yeah,
because anyone can predict, when something will or will not happen. But at the end of the day, we're still here at this very moment, so to speak.
Yeah, well, if the sun goes out, I mean, you would have serious issues. So, yeah, it's one of those things. I forget where. I mean, I may have done too much research, but I feel like there's a part where Steiner talks about these things, about the sun dimming and then coming back online. I don't know where that is. I'd have to dig around probably, but it could have even been an Eric Dollard clip. But let's see here. This is about Jesus. You don't need that right now.
And somewhere in the 1800s, they had I forget the exact date, but they had the year without summer. So 3 years of pretty much crap.
Yeah. Yeah, from the volcano, right?
Quote unquote, caused by volcanic ash in the atmosphere. The whole island blew up, and nowadays, how long has Iceland been burning?
Forever.
I mean, maybe we're just waiting for the sun to dim, and that's when the actual year without summer happens again.
Well, see, that would be awful because majority of people believe that we have the capacity, even though this is data proven wrong, but we have the capacity to destroy the Earth with our industrial, whatever you want to call it. There's data that proves otherwise, but the information that the average person has would in the 50 years of fear mongering would be not good.
They hardly know anything about the makeup of Earth, so to speak. The deepest hole that we know of is 13 kilometers or thereabouts. You put 13 kilometers in a straight line on this ball and you zoom out, you see nothing.
Right.
And if you look at it as a ball, it's a lot more than 13 kilometers to get to the center.
Yeah.
So how did they determine by drilling 13 kilometers deep that this is what the Earth is made up of, and this is how all of it? It's all like wet finger work. They just made it up. It's a convenient metaphorical story, just like the one you showed earlier with the Aztecs.
Mm-hmm. The Mayans, yeah. Oh yeah, it might be the Aztecs. You're right. Yeah, same thing, honestly.
Right.
Yeah. It's
for me, that just shows more of how it's all cyclical. It's been brought up throughout time, again and again and again, and it's still relevant.
Yep. Yeah, it's defies all the narratives. It breaks the narratives. And I think that's good. I don't know. I think the empowerment of the human being, which you really only get if you're starting to get into anthroposophy, or anything that kind of breaks the the narrative, which like I say, it's all about disempowering you at every step of the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's annoying. It's like, oh, you're a speck. Oh, you get so many years. Oh, you live on a wet rock. That's
all of it. Yeah, all of it is
crazy.
Yeah,
it's annoying.
It's very annoying because it's like for people like ourselves that dig a little bit deeper. Yeah, sure, you just work around it, but you got to work with all of these other people.
Mm-hmm.
It's a collective, conscious and subconscious. You need all of them to make things work, and if more than half of them doesn't really actively participate, it's very easy to take charge, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I think the internet is a true blessing because if you think about how much people have been getting away with misinformation, and the hilarious thing is now that everything that they don't like, they call misinformation too. So it's just like
up to the individual themselves to be critical as well, right? Because even a lot of quote unquote truther channels spill a lot of stuff that like isn't verified or anything. It's just like, this is what it was. But how do you know? Like if you make it a guesstimation, I'm all good, but how do you really know that is exactly what happened and how it took place?
Yeah, well, the thing that so this is where I like I say, I have been studying Steiner for 5 years now. I've read tons and tons of his stuff. I don't even know how many lectures I've listened to. I mean, probably close to 1,000 hours worth. And yet I still find stuff and I still make links. And then you watch anime and you're like, well, this is literally what Steiner's talking about right here. Or, at the end of the day, the principles he provides empower you or me or I, right? Empower you or I in a way that isn't diminishing and it isn't scary. And it's not like, oh, hey, you need to go worship God and Christ and all this stuff. Like, I don't think God needs that really. God likes it, of course, but it's here or there, and it's more about you. And I know Flight Boss mentions this too, where like, God wants you. God is in you, wanting to experience life, and this brings you together and brings your soul into meaning, as opposed to the drudgery of life as is currently. it's awesome. It's cool. It's one of the only things I've found in these 5 years where like I can keep digging deeper and like getting more meaning out of it and getting more, I guess you could say, inspiration to share this type of content and empower yourself. Like that's the cool thing about this.
You create your reality. If people would realize that,
they are. I think it's changing.
It's not them, they, or whatever evil, nefarious thing. You give them your power. If you don't, they have nothing to say.
Right, and they're afraid of the light.
Oh yeah, 100%.
This is the cool thing about. I always say God has like the best sense of humor. So and it's you think about laughter. Do you think about just it's lightening. You're lightening your load. You're laughing. You're having a laugh, and God will show you that in hilarious ways. Especially if you're open to it and you kind of carry a sense of humor about yourself as well.
Oh, you have to.
It's very empowering.
Or you should. Like, you don't have to, but you should.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be honest though, like I've lost interest in like comedy specials. I was never super into like comedy people. I mean, I enjoy a good joke or listening to that kind of stuff, but it's kind of funny where you may have your own individualized sense of humor.
Don't go with the trend. You do yourself.
Yeah, laugh. Live, laugh, and love, or whatever they say. So, let's see. I guess I only have a couple more things, which is great. Honestly, I didn't want this to run really long. We had a bunch of technical difficulties. Perhaps I'll chop this up into something that's a little more bite-sized. I don't know. I enjoy doing it this way as well, but it's a little unoptimized, so maybe I'll just get better and keep doing it. I do have a couple more things to share.
Probably a matter of just getting back into it.
Yeah, it's been a hiatus.
Exactly.
So there's some more. I got some more Steiner, and then I think I have like 2 other things that I definitely want to share. I do want to take a quick couple minutes break again, just because it's nice to parse this up a little bit and I can look around without you guys seeing what I'm doing. So let's take a couple minutes, maybe 2 or 3, and then we'll be right back and finish this up with a couple more shares, and then talk a little bit, and then whatever. If you do have questions, please drop them in the comments. I'm totally down to answer them, or whatever. If you have a link to share, that's cool too. But yeah, we'll be right back. Thank you. I gotta do this. How do I do this? All right. Okay, so. Oh no! Hey. All right, here we go. All right, we're back. We got going on almost 2 hours. So I got a little more to share, and then we'll wrap it up with some conversation and goodbyes for now. I was thinking the best thing is to talk a little bit about light and share some really interesting stuff about light, and a couple books in regards to light. Obviously, the sun helps this light be visible and created, right? It has a ton of health impacts. Let me see here. We need, I guess, I'll show this real quick, and then we'll watch a clip. Alright, here we go. So, I have this book. It's actually pretty rare, but you can get it on Internet Archive. You have to sign up, and then you can digitally borrow it. This is called... Loading, there we go. Okay, wait, here we go. Okay, I guess it's not going to show us the cover. That's nice. This is called Sunlight Could Save Your Life. It is by Zane R. Kime, Dr. Zane R. Kime. It's pretty cool. I do believe he thinks the sun's a burning ball of gas, but there's a lot of information that's really cool you can check out. He talks about the health benefits of the sun, which are, very beneficial.
Numerous.
I'm sorry?
I said numerous. The health benefits of the sun are numerous.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk about that a little bit. So, like I say, I've been kind of researching this for a few months. One of the books I also read was Sun and Steel by Yukio Mishima. And we'll actually listen to a clip from that in a little bit. He goes into the sun in sort of a philosophical / physical way, in, sort of using the sun as a... I don't want to say a guide or a light. I mean, in a way it is, but in achieving his physical body, which is really cool. But this is a great book. If you can find it, it's one of those rare books. The other one, so this is cool. He talks about, especially for males, if you get a lot of sunlight, it boosts your testosterone. There's a whole chapter on sexuality here. Being out in the sun is great. It's very good for your health. I guess you could say not everyone. I don't know. There's some things I think that are universal, but some people tell me they're allergic to avocados, so I don't know. Or like people allergic to grass. Like, how do you exist? I don't even know. But it's a cool book. I'm not going to read a whole bunch of it. Check it out sometime. It's really cool. A lot of studies and just the benefits of it. The other great one, and this actually has a book component. I don't have the book. It's a pretty rare book now. I think it's one of those books pushing around $100 in order to acquire it. Honestly, book prices tell you a lot about the content. Not always, but this is where I need Adobe. I need desktop actually, because this won't work. Okay. So this is from Dr. John Ott. It's a documentary. You can get it you can watch it on YouTube. Highly recommend watching the whole thing. It'll really inform you on light and the benefits of it. They have tons of time-lapse photography. He was a photographer who would do basically time-lapse photography of plants and testing their, how they grow. He would do like videos for people. I don't know. I think he did some for like Disney and stuff like that. Back then, you had to do like time lapses, so it took a long time. And he built like an entire garden what do they call that? Greenhouse with like camera setups and light setups. It's really cool. And he also did studies on animals. I know some people don't like this. However, he learned a lot about light and its effects on animals. And we'll actually listen to that here. He's talking right now about the spectrum. Now, for me, I recently started, I don't want to go into super details, but the building I currently work at has lights in the ceiling, which are just tubes, fluorescent tubes. But I realized, like, they're not correct, right? They're not full spectrum lighting. And he's going to talk here about light and the spectrum of light and its effects on different things. And so I actually went through the trouble of switching to more higher spectrum light, at least, and in the warm tone of higher spectrum light. And we've already seen, like, just in a general sense, a more comfortable atmosphere. So let's listen to this. This is Dr. John Ott. Now, this, I think, too, is like in the 50s or 60s. A little old-fashioned, but super informative. They didn't really mess around with information back then. So this is all about light. Let's take a listen. Make sure I'm streaming correctly. Okay, cool. Here we go.
The possible significance of this may be better illustrated in this chart, showing the influence of wavelengths of light on tumor development in C3H mice. Here is the visible color spectrum, starting with the longer wavelengths, which we see as red, on through the various colors to the shortest visible wavelengths of violet, and beyond the range of human vision into the ultraviolet, then X-rays, gamma rays, and cosmic rays. Into the longer wavelengths come infrared, radar, television, and radio broadcasting wavelengths. This deep yellow line represents sunlight energy, as measured by the Bureau of Standards in Washington, D.C. The intensity is fairly even through the visible portion of the spectrum, peaking a little in the blue-green, but then cutting off abruptly in the ultraviolet at approximately 2,900 angstroms because of the filtering effect of the atmosphere. The Bureau of Standards and other similar charts show an absolute cutoff at this point, but I'm continuing this line at the very bottom of the chart because it is now recognized by many physicists that trace amounts of these shorter wavelengths do penetrate the atmosphere to the surface of the Earth. This pink line represents the spectral energy from standard pink fluorescent tubes. Under this narrow part of the spectrum, these mice developed tumors and died within the average lifespan of only 7.5 months. Under the broader spectrum from daylight white fluorescent, the lifespan increased to an average of 8.2 months. Ordinary single-strength window glass comes closer to the full spectrum of natural sunlight, but does cut off in the ultraviolet spectrum at about 3,300 angstroms, and the lifespan goes up to 9.4 months. Some eyeglasses are designed to cut out all of the ultraviolet at about 3,800 angstroms. The biggest increase in the lifespan is noted in the animals under the full spectrum of ultraviolet transmitting plastic that cuts off virtually at the same point as the atmosphere, around 2,900 angstroms, and the animals lived for an average of 15.6 months. Under the synthetic type quartz glass, there is a cutoff in the ultraviolet around 2,300 angstroms, and the lifespan goes up just a little more to 15.8 months. Under the full spectrum of natural sunlight received through the air curtain, the lifespan increases to 16 1/10 months, which is more than double the lifespan under this narrow part of the spectrum alone. On first thought, one might conclude that these wavelengths are harmful, but actually they are part of the total spectrum. So it is then suggested that the faster tumor development and other abnormal growth responses are not caused by the presence of these waves, but rather by the absence of the wavelengths that are missing. This condition of malnutrition might be compared to malnutrition that results primarily from what is lacking in a proper diet.
So, yeah, when I first watched this, I didn't quite understand it until, going in a little deeper and understanding, like, you want as much of this light as possible, right? I don't know if it's like this in the Netherlands, but in America, we have, they're replacing a lot of, like, the street lamps with, like, LEDs, which are awful. If you can't see the flicker, I don't know. It might be a thing that maybe some people just can't see the flicker, but LEDs flicker. It's on and off. I actually have a clip. Let me see. I don't know if I can find that real quick here.
Cameras trap that really well with like LED lights of cars and stuff. Like when you watch a video of a car with LED lights, you see them blinking.
Yeah. Let me see. There's someone posted a great one. Well, the thing I love about this, right, is it kind of brings it all together in a way where the sun, if you see it as a gradient, right, then you look at a light bulb and the quality of the light you're getting, the spectrum of light, which is why they're forced, like in America too, they made it illegal for some reason. They made it illegal to buy incandescent bulbs. I don't know why people weren't mad about this.
They tried that for a bit here and they couldn't, but they just moved them out of most stores. So you have to make a real big effort to get your incandescent light bulbs.
Yeah. I mean, it's...
When you go to the supermarket, you get a LED bulb. I hate them.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Again, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, for 100 years we've been operating like this, but now it changes, you know? Like, please. I can't...
With the excuse that it's cheap.
Right, yeah, it's to save pennies.
That's with most of these things. It's good for the economy.
Oh, wow, it looks like that tweet might have disappeared. That's unfortunate. Yeah, it seems like it's gone. Well, somebody had posted a tweet that had a video comparing LEDs. And if you take your iPhone or whatever, you know, your camera phone or whatever, and video a LED light, you'll see the flicker. You say here they've replaced a lot. They have this one road I like to take my walks on. You'll see warm light, which is like it's like a nice warm incandescent light, which is very beautiful at night. But then you get to these LED lights, which are obviously limited in spectrum because they appear to be yellow-green, just like he's talking about in this video. They clearly look like the green, yellow here, which, is telling you you're not even getting the full spectrum of light. And yeah, it's awful. It's not good for you. In the flickers, you'll just see this like flashing if you're paying attention. If you take psychedelics and see these lights, it's very annoying. And they're replacing them all over the place. It's awful. And so, let's see. What was the other thing? I think Upside Down Alien, aren't you in Philly? Or maybe you were, I don't know. They're probably doing the same thing there. I guess I don't remember what I was gonna follow it up with. Too many things.
Well, like you said, you have 6 hours worth of material to share.
Well, not all of it, but yeah, there's a couple hours worth of stuff, but it's all blobbing together.
Yeah, but maybe it's blobbing together for you. The listener, viewer might learn something completely new. That's like people asking me for Star Forts. It's like, yeah, I've seen them all. I don't really care about them. Like I've mapped them out. I want to work on the Chinese walls now. Let's do those. I don't care for the Star Forts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, I feel you. It reminded me. I wanted to tell you. Supposedly, there's a wall in Montana. You have to look that up at some point. You might have already seen it, but I saw some tweet about it the other day.
There's just so many walls in the world that are still hidden to me. And picking up a pet project like the Chinese walls, it borders insanity, honestly.
Yeah.
It's thousands of miles of zooming in and zooming out and trying to find stuff that ties to them.
Right. This might be good. Let me see. So this is about light on the endocrine system. Very short little clip. Let me just play this and then maybe I'll be reminded of what I wanted to talk about. Well, actually, I did kind of cover just the light and the distortion of light, the pollution. Well, not light pollution. Light pollution's real in a way, but the low quality LED lights, I mean, they're awful. I've been there's a website, I think it's called Thousand Bulbs, maybe you can check out. You can buy lights there if you're in America and not wondering why they're illegal for some reason. Yeah. Let's listen to this. This is about light controlling the bloom period of plants, and then he talks a little bit about how light works in your body with the endocrine system.
Blooming can be delayed by turning lights on and artificially lengthening the short daylight periods of fall and winter. This is how florists control the blooming of chrysanthemums so that they are available every month of the year. The blooming of poinsettias is also controlled by light, so they will reach their peak of bloom just in time for Christmas. In the early 1920s, a Canadian zoologist by the name of William Rowan discovered that the migration of birds is also controlled by the seasonal changes of the length of the day and night periods. The poultry industry has learned that egg production can be increased by lengthening the daytime periods with artificial light, and especially during the short daylight hours of the winter. More recent research by a number of scientists has indicated that light entering the eyes influences the pituitary and pineal glands by means of neurochemical channels that are independent of the optic nerve. These master glands control the entire endocrine system and the resulting basic body chemistry through the production and release of hormones. Thus, it appears that the conversion of light energy into chemical energy through the process of photosynthesis in plants carries on into animal life in a much more improved and more sophisticated way. Here is a pigment epithelial cell from the retina of a rabbit's eye.
Yeah, so he just goes in a little bit more, but yeah, like, light's super important. I think too, when we think about the sun, we don't think of it as organic, right? Because you're told it's a burning ball of gas. When in fact it's a spiritual space, you know, sort of pulling through the Agario, right? If you really want to start getting, I guess, real about it, I mean, that's what it is. It's a space in there, counter space, right? It's awesome. Let's see. So I got that. Yeah, we talked about the sunlight book. Like I say, I could probably go on and on about this, but I'm gonna wrap it up here with we're gonna listen to a passage. Yeah, here we go. So I recently read this book and another one by Yukio Mishima. This is Sun and Steel. He was a Japanese novelist, and he, after the war, I guess he got into writing some novels, and he also took physical development very seriously with working out, lifting weights, and martial arts. His profession is that, you know, the sun kind of gave him the light, I guess you could say, to burn his body and become stronger, and then the steel becomes a way of also, you know, sort of building it up, and this sort of creates like a wordless beauty, I guess is the best way to put it. Just being in space, right? Because you have a strong body, and so being in space, you're just aesthetically pleasing in a way that doesn't require words. Really cool, pretty fascinating. Honestly, this is a book that probably could be broken down into like a couple tweets, but it's cool. It's nice to read. Very Japanese in a way. Let's see. I'm gonna start it a little early, I guess. Here we go. Boom.
As my body acquired muscle, and it turned to strength, there was gradually born within me a tendency towards the positive acceptance of pain, and my interest in physical suffering deepened. Even so, I would not have it believed that this development was a result of the workings of my imagination. My discovery was made directly with my body, thanks to Sun and Steel. As many people must have experienced for themselves, the greater accuracy of a blow from a boxing glove or a fencing sword, the more it is felt as a counterblow rather than as a direct assault on the opponent's person. One's own blow, one's own strength, creates kind of a hollow. A blow is successful if, at that instant, the opponent's body fits into that hollow in space and assumes a form precisely identical with it. How is it that a blow can be experienced in such a way? What makes a blow successful? Success comes when both timing and placing of the blow are just right. But more than this, it happens when the choice of time and target, one's judgment, manages to catch the foe momentarily off guard. When one has an intuitive apprehension of that off-guard moment, a fraction of a second before it becomes perceptible to the senses. This apprehension is a quality that is unknowable even to the self and is acquired through the process of long training. By the time the right moment is consciously perceptible, it is already too late. It is too late, in other words, when that which lurks in the space beyond that flashing fist and the tip of the sword has taken shape. By the moment it takes shape, it must already be snugly ensconced in the hollow in space that one has marked out and created. It is in this instant that victory in the fray is born. The height of the fray, I found, the tardy process of creating muscle, whereby strength creates form and form creates strength. It is repeated so swiftly that it becomes imperceptible to the eye. Strength, like that of light emitting its own rays, was constantly renewed, destroying and creating form as it went. I saw for myself how the form that was beautiful and fitting overcame the form that was ugly and imprecise. Its distortion invariably implied an opening for the foe and a blurring of the rays of strength. The defeat of the foe occurs when he accommodates his form to the hollow space that one has already marked out. At that moment, one's own form must preserve a constant precision and beauty, and the form itself must have an extreme adaptability, a matchless flexibility, so that it resembles a series of sculptures created from moment to moment by a fluid body. The conscious radiation of strength must create its own shape, just as the conscious jet of water will maintain the shape of a fountain. Surely, I felt, the tempering by sun and steel to which I submitted over such a long period was none other than a process of creating this kind of fluid sculpture. And in so far as the body thus fashioned belonged strictly to life, its whole value, I came to feel, must lie in that moment-to-moment splendor. That indeed is the reason why human sculpture has striven so hard to commemorate the momentary glory of the flesh in imperishable marble. It followed that death lay on a short way beyond that particular moment. Here I felt I was gaining a clue to an inner understanding of the cult hero. The cynicism that regards all hero worship as comical is always shadowed by the sense of physical inferiority. Invariably, it is the man who believes himself to be physically lacking in heroic attributes who speaks mockingly of the hero. And when he does so, how dishonest is it that his phraseology, partaking ostensibly of logic so universal and general, should not, or at least be assumed by the general public not to, give any clue to his physical characteristics. I have yet to hear hero worship mocked by a man endowed with what might justly be called heroic physical attributes. Facile cynicism invariably is related to feeble muscles or obesity, while the cult of the hero and a mighty nihilism are always related to mighty blood and well-tempered muscles.
So, yeah, I love that. Well, for those who don't know, I work out not every single day, but pretty often. There is something to be said about the wordless aesthetics of it and the confidence you gain from it. For sure. Combined with proper light, right? These things are super important. These things, just like the endless disempowerment, propaganda, etc. These are all designed to make everyone feel weak and powerless. You're a dot on a dot in a cosmic soup, which is probably a dot too. Whereas the sun is breaking that mold entirely, showing us literally that there's something far greater going on here. and it's a part of you. You know, your sun is your center. Steiner says, just, you know, your heart is the physiologically your sun that powers all your organs up to your brain, which is your roots. I don't really want to go into all the physiology because it's a lot, and I don't have enough information to properly share that right now. But yeah, that's kind of what I got for everyone today. The only thing I want, I'm gonna, let me see here, Mike or Upside Down Alien. I apologize, I forget your name. I just have one last thing I'll share, but if you guys have anything to say or want to discuss something, now is a great time.
No, it basically ties down to what I started with. It all syncs out, it links up, and it tends to repeat itself.
Yeah, cycles. I will say I wish I had advice or, you know, a prediction. I don't know. You know, there's some people that say within the next few years the sun will do something. Who knows? And I try to remain as optimistic about all of it as I can.
If and when it happens,
yeah,
it happens.
Exactly.
There's no say in that matter, anyways.
Exactly. So, you know, fine tune your karma in your life, and then you don't have to. I guess worry so much. But yeah, the last thing I have is a share on this is from a Waldorf school. If you don't know, besides being an incredible teacher, a lecturer, etc., providing all this incredible insight 100 years ago, 100 plus years ago, he also made the Waldorf school system. And this is a eurythmy exercise that you can do in the morning. We're going to see it demonstrated here with these teacher and some students. I haven't tried it yet. I might start trying it. I do plan to be learning eurythmy, which is basically a language with your body. Obviously, it's more complicated than sign language, which is just your hands. But these things are really fascinating. I think when you think about sun and steel, or you think about your posture, Steiner would talk about yoga. All these things are important, especially when you start, you know, empowering yourself with ideas like your heart is your sun, your lungs are Mercury. You know, these are all important things. And this is a little warm-up exercise I'll leave you guys with. Here we go. Oh, wait, do I have the right thing? Nope.
Before we begin, grandparents, please stand up. So, in class 6, one of the things we do in the morning to wake ourselves up, because sometimes in grade 6 when we arrive, we're really tired. So, we're just going to demonstrate, and maybe you can give it a go. You ready? So it starts like this. With our right hand, we go thumb, up, shoulder, side, shoulder, up, shoulder. So this seems pretty easy, doesn't it? You hardly need to be awake for that. But then you've got to add the next hand in. Keep going. Here we go. Now, we're going to try. Are you ready? Are you guys big back there? We're going to try jumping at the same time. And now here's the part where I can't do it anymore, but some of them can. With our jumping, we're going to cross our feet. I totally lose
it. So this is pretty cool. A great way to prior to warm up, get started. Prevent. This is training you to improve your ambidexterity. What would that be? Ambidexterity? Yeah, ambidexterity.
That's it. Ambidexterity.
Yeah. I like to. So I teach. I teach everything right now, but I also teach art, and I love doing a ambidexterity instructions where, simple things like trace your hand, and then we're going to switch drawing hands. And it's very fascinating to watch young people freak out as they can barely write once again.
Yeah.
Even adults.
I'm a lefty, so I'm naturally ambidextrous.
Oh, nice. Yeah. It takes training. It's I would say if you spent a half hour a day, within a week you would probably be writing just as comfortable with your other hand. But
yeah, it's in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Like a switch needs to come. Like all you need to do is mirror it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you can do with your left hand, you can do with your right hand. But since the world is catering to the right-handed people,
right.
left-handed stuff isn't made, so it's much harder for people who are right-handed to learn the left-handed stuff than it is for left-handed people who already have to compensate for everything to learn the right-handed stuff.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite exercises. The groaning and the moaning is hilarious, but then there's a couple students that are actually pretty good at it, and yeah, it's like I say, I find Steiner to be incredible. I think his work's incredible. It's going to change a lot of things, I think. I'm actually trying to connect with a lot of anthroposophy organizations in hope of sort of spreading his information. I hope that, even though this was kind of messy, I apologize, but I think we really brought together a ton of different things. I think the visuals are great to tie it together, help you remember some, and hopefully share this,
Another thing I encourage from a personal perspective that sort of ties to the moaning and the groaning is singing.
Yes.
Doesn't matter if you think you can't sing, everybody can sing.
Not
everybody can sing like a rock star. Everybody can sing. Singing is really, really healthy.
Yeah, that's something I have to work on. Currently, I teach high school level, so I don't have to sing a whole lot, which is nice. But when I worked with toddlers in kindergarten, I had a hard time with singing because I'm very self-conscious on that. I'm not a singer.
Yeah, but you just need to find your voice. Your voice might not do
yeah,
but you can sing.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, it's it's ideal if you can sing and incorporate rhyme into your lessons, especially for young folks. It helps them remember things.
You actually make it funny and entertaining, or you remember that much easier that way than being forceful about it.
Right.
I remember all of my history lessons from back in the day because my history lesson teacher was a moron in the funniest sense of the word. Like he hopped around in the class imitating the caveman, the whole class is laughing. You remember that stuff,
right?
Like he tells about the Egyptians and he walks like an Egyptian through the class, like they really didn't walk like this, but isn't it funny?
Yeah. One thing I try to bring is humor for sure. Like I say, I think that's that's God's light in a way. You get to channel that. Yeah, I mean that's all I got. Let me see. I do have a question here. Reference, gonna bookmark. Have you read "Dying Earth, Living Cosmos"? I don't know. Is that a Steiner work? It might be. But I haven't read it. I don't think so. The whole idea of the Earth is that it is already dead. Flight Boss actually talks about this quite a bit. I know, actually, Mike, we've talked about that before. I know at some capacity that the Earth is essentially dead. The issue with the dead, thinking that the Earth is all dead, is partially propaganda, right? Because if you see it that way, then you would sort of be limiting your worldview. Whereas the cosmos, living cosmos, it's like, you take certain psychedelic compounds. It's not dead. Everything around you is actually alive and degrees of density, so it's a perspective thing. So I don't know. I'll have to look into that maybe.
And what is dead to begin with? If you have an object which cannot transfer itself into a different reality,
right?
From your perspective, because that's the whole thing.
Right.
Like, didn't we change reality? Maybe we change reality every day because that's what Earth does. But we're not aware of it. It's not in our perspective.
Right. Yeah, I think honestly the Earth can warrant an entire episode. Steiner has a lot on it. We could deep dive on Vril and Smoky God. I hate to kind of reiterate too much because I know we've covered so much of this in Delicious Divination, but I also don't know where any of that stuff is in that 70 some episodes. I don't know where to find it.
Yeah, but that's no different from my life archives that I talk
Right.
about
Yeah.
stuff with the guys. I don't know what is in which episode. You go and watch it. That's it. That's all I have there.
Yeah, I do want to perhaps condense things more and more here to sort of help spread the knowledge. I think, like I say, the Earth could be an entire podcast episode. So maybe we'll do that. Whoa, you're good. I had talked with Mike 13 Monkey before about doing Michael, Archangel Michael. Maybe that's the next episode. So if your name is Michael, reach out. Maybe I was thinking I have a lot of Michael friends. It's very hilarious how many Michaels I know. But it could be a really great subject, especially because I have a whole bunch of art about him, and it'd be really cool to do a deep dive on some of that. So yeah, plenty of content, plenty of things to talk about. Check out Steiner. That's all I got. I really appreciate everybody tuning in, bearing with the crazy technical difficulties. Hopefully work them out for the next one. Yeah.
Where's bro? It was entertaining.
Thanks, man.
Glad I stuck around.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys tuning in and sharing your perspectives with me. It's awesome.
Let me know when the next one is up. I'm up for a Michael episode.
Yeah, that would be fun. I think there's a lot to say about that. It leads to the elements. It leads to sort of a justice, which I don't want to tangent too far, but there seems to be a leaning towards this, which we need. So that's cool. Hope you all have a great day. The sun is actually shining here in Columbus, Ohio, which is surprising. We get a lot of cloudy days this time of year, but it's shining, so get some sunlight. That's all I got. Thanks very much. We'll see you guys next time.
Catch you later, guys.